Sometimes The View hosts cross over the line, and celebrities have to put them in their place.
Are you serious?
Let's hear it.
Are you serious?
Let's hear it.
We've compiled the most brutal moments from The View where guests stood their ground, like when Coleman Hughes shut down Sunny Hostin with logic she couldn't refute.
Better for everyone if we stuck to the topics rather than make it about me.
But
with
it's
no,
not about
no
you,
evidence.
but
policy.
he also says
Okay.
you must include race.
No, he didn't. He says it's
Yes, he does.
Okay, well, everyone should go read the book Why We Can't Wait. Let's not get sidetracked by that.
Hughes, a Columbia philosophy graduate and podcaster, dismantled The View's usual black and white thinking on race with sharper, nuanced arguments.
By this. Arguments for a colorblind America. What do you mean when you say that?
So a lot of people equate colorblindness to I don't see race or to pretending not to see race. I think that's a big mistake. We all see race, right? And we're all capable of being racially biased, so we should all be self-aware to that possibility. My argument is not for that. My argument is that we should try our very best to treat people without regard to race, both in our personal lives and our public policy.
The young intellectual kept his cool, dropping facts and historical context.
In the past 10 years, it has become very popular to, in the name of anti-racism, teach a kind of philosophy to our children and in general that says your race is everything. Right, and I think that is the wrong way to fight racism.
When Sunny Hostin suggested Hughes was being used by the right, he shut that down fast.
Your argument, and I've read your book twice because I wanted to give it a chance, your argument that race has no place in that equation is really fundamentally flawed, in my opinion.
Because how do you address that in the way that actually targets poverty the best?
Your argument for colorblindness, I think, is something that the right has co-opted. And so many in the black community, if I'm being honest with you, because I want to be, believe that you are being used as a pawn by the right and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
He's not a Republican.
So how do you...
I don't think I've been co-opted by anyone. I've only voted twice, both for Democrats. No evidence that I've been co-opted by anyone. I have an independent podcast. I work for CNN as an analyst. I write for the Free Press. I'm independent in all of these endeavors, and no one is paying me to say what I'm saying.
You compare those two things.
I compare
about
them because
anti-racism. You're comparing it to white supremacy.
Because they both view your race as an extremely significant part of who you are. So white supremacists, they obviously say, we all know what they say, okay? This is not the style of anti-racism we have to be teaching our kids. We should be teaching them that your race is not a significant feature of who you are. Who you are is your character, your value, and your skin color doesn't say anything about that.
Coleman Hughes proved that guests could outmatch The View's hosts with intellect, but Norm Macdonald showed it could be done with humor, too. In a different episode, he turned the conversation into a hilarious takedown.
And, there used to be a word we would all say to mean stupid that we don't say anymore, right?
Yeah.
You know the word I'm talking about? Yes. Yeah. And stupidly, I was about to say that word,
And you put this.
and I stopped and said, what's the right word to say? And then I said a different word that was equally.
When asked about his controversial comments on the Me Too movement, Macdonald dropped a bombshell.
Probably
I
offended a lot of
realized
people.
at that moment that I'd done something unforgivable.
Yeah. Right.
Joy Behar tried to take back control. Macdonald cut in with a sharp, perfectly timed reference to Barbara Walters' iconic phrase used on The View before.
And, about Roseanne and I don't want someone to end up killing themselves or anything.
Of course not.
Yeah, so often people will come and say, some guy said a joke and you're asked to defend it, and the joke is always horrible. Like, it's the worst joke you've ever heard. And you're in this position where you have to defend a terrible joke on free speech, But I always, reporters always ask you, what's offensive? Is anything over the line? And I personally think almost everything is over the line.
It was clear he was trolling them, and they were falling for it hook, line, and sinker. But Macdonald wasn't done. When asked if he had learned his lesson, he simply tapped the tip of his nose repeatedly while looking directly at Joy Behar. The gesture, often interpreted as a sign of lying or contempt, left the host speechless and the audience in stitches.
I think in general, we all have to think very carefully about the words that come out of our mouth because you risk offending somebody or a number of people.
Well, Joy's often said that PC, political correctness, is killing comedy.
It is killing comedy.
Do you agree?
As the segment drew to a close, Macdonald delivered the coup de grace.
It's about this.
Well, I hope I hope that I didn't offend any of you guys.
Not at all.
It was a brilliant callback to Ricky Gervais's equally savage appearance on the show.
That's the thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right.
But not every guest uses humor. Sometimes, like when Matthew McConaughey had a tense face-off with Joy Behar.
And when he brings them up
Isn't he
and
an
where they started.
anti-vaxxer? I believe
An
he's-
anti-vaxxer?
I believe so, yeah. Just saying.
Way to bring it down, Joy. I'm just kidding.
Joy Behar asked if he thought he could get elected in Texas while being anti-gun, but McConaughey wasn't having it. He fired back, calmly shut her down.
You think you
part of
would
my
get
time.
elected in Texas being anti-gun?
Do I think I could get elected in Texas being anti-gun? One thing about if me in politics is to give you a direct statement right there is me playing a game that I'm not interested in playing.
Okay.
Sunny Hostin attempted to salvage the situation, but the actor's refusal to take the bait.
2021, you consider to run for governor of the state of Texas. Do you think political office is in your future? Can you see that?
If it's where I would deem myself to be most useful,
Yeah.
yes.
But Tulsi Gabbard, with her sharp political instincts, turned her interview into a tactical masterclass. Instead of playing defense, Gabbard went on the attack.
I want to start with something that I think is also important about facts, because recently on your show here,
I was just going to get to that.
you
Let me ask you the
have
question.
accused me of being a traitor to my country, a Russian asset, a Trojan horse, or a
We haven't accused you.
useful idiot, I think was the
Well,
term that you
useful.
used. Which basically means that I'm naive or lack
That's a
intelligence
Russian
to
term.
know what's going
They
on.
use that.
I want to let your viewers know exactly who I am.
The host tried to regain control, but Gabbard wasn't backing down.
The record straight. I am a patriot. I love our country. I am a strong and intelligent woman of color, and I have dedicated almost my entire adult life to protecting the safety, security, and the freedom of all Americans in this country.
As the host got more and more annoyed, Gabbard kept her cool. She talked about enlisting in the military after 9/11.
I'm a soldier. Because of the attacks on 9/11, I enlisted in the military to go after and defeat and destroy the evil that visited us on that day.
The host tried to throw Gabbard off with aggressive questioning, but she remained calm and collected.
Be so demeaned in
But you
such
called
a way.
her the personification of rock.
So demeaned
She's a woman
in such
too.
a way. Well, I'm pointing to the fact that she has continued this legacy of being the world's police around the world, that has waged wars costing the lives of thousands of my brothers and sisters in uniform. I'm speaking out against that and
What's
to
your evidence
change
to that?
to change.
Well, can I?
Are you
can I-
serious?
Let's hear it.
Are you serious?
Let's hear it.
I served in the war
Not
in
you,
Iraq.
her. You're saying that she's-
exactly.
she's a
I
warmonger.
served
How do
in
you
the
come
war
up with
in
that?
Iraq
Yeah.
that she championed. She championed a regime change war
Did you not
in
believe
Libya.
in that war?
I believe the lies that were told to us.
Well, so did she.
So it is indisputable. It is.
While Tulsi Gabbard stood her ground on foreign policy, Tim Scott brought the same level of poise and conviction to the topic of race, leaving the host struggling to keep up.
One of the things I think about, and one of the reasons why I'm on the show, is because of the comments that were made, frankly, on this show, that the only way for a young African-American kid to be successful in this country is to be the exception and not the rule. That is a dangerous, offensive, disgusting message to send to our young people today, that the only way to succeed is by being the exception.
But Scott was just getting started. He rattled off a list of accomplishments that made their heads spin.
Yeah, so the fact of the matter is we've had an African-American president, African-American vice president. We've had 2 African-Americans to be secretaries of the state. In my home city, the police chief is an African-American who's now running for mayor. The head of the highway patrol for South Carolina is an African-American.
The View's hosts squirmed in their seats, desperately trying to regain control of the conversation.
40% homelessness
And 50%
of African Americans.
50% of the folks in our community
Get 13% of the
You had the
population.
chance to ask the question. I know that I've watched you on the show that you like people to be deferential and respectful, so I'm going to do the
That
same
is
thing.
true.
But Scott wasn't having it. He hit them with another zinger.
ABC, NBC, CBS, ESPN, CNN, Fox News all have African-American and Hispanic hosts. So what I'm suggesting is that the yesterday's exception is today's rule.
While Tim Scott used poise and facts to shift the conversation, Killer Mike took a more direct approach, shutting down Sunny Hostin's accusations with unflinching honesty. When Sunny Hostin tried to paint him as just another celeb backing problematic politicians, Mike shut it down fast.
You lost me a little bit with your support of Kemp, but let me tell you this.
Not supportive
some of
Kemp.
his policies.
I mean, that's some misinformation. You cannot like me, but don't lie on me. I saw someone I really respect, a black woman who's a commentator.
The hosts were stunned, while Mike explained he's all about hyper-local politics. He doesn't care about the national drama The View loves.
But if you are concerned with the federal election, you don't know who your city council or your wardsman is, you don't know who your mayor is, and you don't have a good list of state representatives or governor, then you're just a part of whoever wins the Super Bowl or fanfare.
Mike's appearance reminded everyone that real change starts at home. But the next guest took an entirely different approach, shutting down their race-focused questions with calm authority.
The legendary Billie Dee Williams has a decades-long list of unforgettable roles and is still really one of the smoothest superstars on the planet.
Sunny Hostin thought she had the perfect setup to push her race-focused agenda, but Billie Dee Williams was about to paint with a full palette instead of black and white.
So you did start, as Whoopi said, in the industry at a time when few people of color were on TV and in movies, and early...
Everybody's people of color.
Yes. Well, a black man.
Well, a brown-skinned man?
Brown-skinned man.
Hostin tried to pivot, asking about Williams' experience as a person of color in Hollywood. Unbothered and calm, Williams kept his cool while shutting her down like a true chill guy.
Did you ever think about quitting? And if you didn't, what kept you going?
You know, you just live from moment to moment and do what you have to do.
The hosts looked lost, scrambling to steer the conversation back to their planned narrative, but Williams kept hitting them with perspective.
What was that phrase, the gender phrase, what do you call it?
Oh, toxic masculinity?
No.
Okay.
It's
Gender fluid?
Gender fluid.
Yeah.
Gender fluid.
Yeah, and my daughter got very excited about that.
Did she?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because she's a liberal.
Oh, I see.
Those damn liberals.
While Billie Dee Williams used wit and perspective to redirect the conversation, Dr. Phil broke down the host's strategies piece by piece.
Well, Counselor, that's a compound question, and I object.
In the interview, Joy Behar tried to label Donald Trump a narcissist.
Big names are saying that Donald Trump is showing signs of narcissism, which, by the way, one of the symptoms is preoccupied with the fantasies of unlimited power, success, and brilliance. And they're questioning that he has narcissistic disorder. Number one, do you think that's a mental illness, narcissism? And if so, is he fit to be president?
But Dr. Phil shut her down fast, armed with facts straight from the DSM-5.
Well, Counselor, that's a compound question, and I object. But, you know, people talk about narcissism, but they don't really know what it means. So I brought a list from the DSM-5 about what narcissism really is, because if I asked people to stand up and define it, they wouldn't know.
All right.
And let's just take a vote. One has a grandiose sense of self-importance.
Check.
Check.
How many people does that? That's a lot of people.
Well, that is a lot of people, and if you take out everybody that has any of those characteristics, then you're going to take out a lot of people, including some at this table.
Joy Behar tried to defend herself, but Dr. Phil wasn't having it. He took her down fast.
Wouldn't look at President Obama and say he has narcissistic disorder. So you can't just say they all have it.
I didn't
Some
say they
people
all
have
it.
all the things you said.
Right.
We just checked every one of them.
I said most leaders are under a lot of stress and pressure.
Yeah.
So a lot of them will show anxiety, depression at different times. A lot of leaders will have some affliction at different times because of the pressure and demands of the office.
She could talk about
Dr. Phil turned The View's emotional chaos into a clinic, exposing their biases in amateur psychology. The View's reputation has taken a serious hit lately, with even comedians like Tim Dillon calling out the show's lack of substance on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Like, there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View.
Over the years, The View has hosted some truly disgraceful interviews. Much like Ellen, they've been put in their place by bold celebrity guests, and you can click to watch those moments in another video. What was your favorite moment? Did we miss any? Let us know in the comments below, and please click subscribe.